The San Fernando Valley is a basin of total predictability. From the air, it's a grid of stucco and asphalt that stretches to the mountains. A landscape where every street and every cul-de-sac follows the same geometric logic. This layout provides a specific kind of comfort. Low sightlines and wide streets mean there are very few places to hide. You can look out your front window and see the entire block, which creates an immediate, if subconscious, sense of security. That exposure is the basis for the neighborhood watch. It isn't about formal patrols. It's the natural byproduct of proximity. People notice an unfamiliar car, idling too long, or forgotten trash cans. When Ryan Castor moved onto Bellhaven Drive in Reseda, he stepped right into that system. Within 48 hours, 3 neighbors had introduced themselves. One brought cookies, one offered to help with his cable, and one left a handwritten note welcoming him to the street. He felt like he had found a community. He had no idea that one of those neighbors had already been inside his house before he even signed the closing papers. The neighbor who left the note was Paul. He lived directly next door and spent his days tending to a row of birds of paradise along the property line. He was always out there, watering, trimming, or just standing quietly on his porch as the sun went down. The architecture of these lots creates a specific kind of vulnerability. Because the houses are so close, Paul's natural field of vision covered Ryan's driveway, his side windows, and the entrance to his garage. Paul used casual conversation to fill in the gaps. Every friendly chat over the fence about work or home renovations allowed him to extract details. He wasn't just being neighborly, he was building a schedule of exactly when Ryan would be home and when the house would be empty. In his 5th week, Ryan found a package he'd left on the kitchen counter had been opened. The tape was sliced clean along one edge. Nothing was missing, but the box had clearly been handled by someone else while Ryan was asleep upstairs. This matched the experience of the previous owners. The wife, Lisa, had noticed her garden tools were never where she left them. Her mail, pushed through a slot in the front door, would often be found in a different order than how it had fallen, as if it had been pulled back out and reinserted. These small displacements, a moved rake or an opened box, served as a quiet demonstration of access. They were a way of showing that the walls of the house offered no real privacy and that he could move through Ryan's living space whenever he chose. The proof of that access was hidden in the garage. While clearing out a storage area, Ryan found an old trail camera mounted behind a shelf. It was a motion-triggered device, weathered and sun-faded but still functional. The SD card held 14 months of footage. Every single clip was a 5 to 10 second recording of the side door that connected the garage to the backyard. During the 3 months the house sat vacant before Ryan moved in, the camera recorded 22 separate entries. In each one, the same figure approached the window and looked inside, checking the empty rooms. The final clip was recorded 2 days before Ryan's move-in date. The figure was no longer looking through the glass. He was standing inside the garage, in the center of the room, looking directly at the camera. When Ryan turned the card over to the police, forensic analysis found that several clips had been accessed by a different device. The intruder hadn't just been breaking in, he had been monitoring the camera, checking the footage to see if his own face had been captured. He used the vacancy of the house to establish a routine of his own. By the time Ryan moved in, a neighbor wasn't just watching the house from the outside. He had already made himself at home within its margins. After a 6-week investigation, police arrived at the house next door. Paul was arrested in his front yard while watering his garden. He didn't resist or look surprised. He simply turned off the hose and watched them approach. Inside a locked cabinet in Paul's garage, detectives found his records. There were photographs and property documents, but most notably, a row of house keys. Each key had a small, handwritten tag for an address Paul had lived next to over the last 15 years. Paul had spent over a decade moving through different neighborhoods, waiting for houses to become vacant so he could learn their layouts and secure his own sets of keys. He lived as a helpful, quiet neighbor while slowly accumulating access to the lives around him. This level of observation is a built-in feature of the valley. When houses share fence lines and back-to-back lots, your routine is never truly private. Your neighbors don't have to try to learn your habits, they simply see them as part of the landscape. The neighborhood watch model relies on the assumption that everyone is looking out for one another. But Ryan's story is a dark reminder that the exact same physical proximity that makes a neighborhood feel safe also makes it impossible to know who is really on the other side of the fence.